it's not just about selling, it's about helping him overcome those challenges and those objectives.
You are listening to The Deal Breakdown with Derek Shebby, where we spotlight the best deals out there in B2B sales, from the open all the way to the close. Welcome to the B2B Deal Breakdown podcast, where we give you the play-by-play on some of the best deals out there. I'm Derek Shebby, and I'm excited to be meeting with Jason Madsen. He's an account manager in the electrical industry. Thanks for being on, Jason.
I'm so glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, with your success, I know people are going to learn a lot from you today. So let's get into the first question. Could you tell the listeners a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I've been in B2B about 5.5 years. I was a technology advisor for about 1.5 years and then jumped into an account manager position. I've been serving the electrical industry for the past 4 years and just thrilled. I love the sales cycle process, helping people, solving challenges.
Great. So what company are you with now?
I work for Royal Industrial Solutions.
And is that the same company you've been with for the last 4 years?
That's correct.
Perfect. And what does the Royal Industrial Solutions sell?
So we used to be an electrical wholesale house that supplied flagship product like Rockwell Automation or Allen Bradley, but we kind of shifted our name and vision to providing solutions based around the products as far as hardware and software from Allen Bradley, as well as the electrical components that go into the plant.
Okay. So then, so your offerings, like what challenges would you say that those offerings that you provide solve? So
a couple of challenges that manufacturing plants have in the electrical space is trying to decrease their downtime. If they're not making product that can ship out to different places, then they are losing money. So we're trying to increase the uptime. Another challenge is trying to reduce energy usage. People are always trying to protect that bottom dollar or the bottom line and look for ways to increase that profitability.
Got it. And just not to give any specific companies away, what sort of plants, like what sort of businesses are we talking about that would have your solutions?
Great question. So my vertical market is food and beverage and life science, pharmaceutical. But there are other industries such as OEM or original equipment manufacturers. There's oil and gas. There's water and wastewater. There's also paper mills, lumber. Those are some of the key spaces that we play in.
Nice. So we're talking big organizations here then.
Correct.
Got it. So for this particular deal that you chose, how did you choose this one?
This one was pretty cool. I had been contacting the wrong contact actually for 2 months.
Yeah.
Little did I know that he was transitioning out of the company and somebody else was taking over, so that there was a lot of silence in between as I was prospecting and canvassing. Finally found the correct point of contact, and from there, it took a few extra touches in order to get the first appointment, but he was blown away at all of the different offerings that we have and services. And so once I finally got the appointment, it was, what can I do to listen to what he's trying to achieve and author the solution to align with his objectives. Nice.
Well, let's break down to the beginning then here, because I like what you said about you targeted this customer first. I mean, how did you know they'd be a good opportunity? Like, where'd you find them?
Well, I'm in a unique position where I was given an account package, a list of names, and I was tasked to go out and find the opportunities for the potential solutions that we have. And so I was just doing my route, 5 to 6 customers in a day, trying to, space it out properly and thinking down the road in the future, knowing that there is opportunity there until I qualify it to say that there isn't any opportunity.
Right. So was this a list of current customers or past customers or?
it was a mixture. No, it's a great question. It was a mixture of current customers and customers that were in our database but hadn't bought anything. So really, they were new customers to me, to the company too.
So before you I guess ruled them out, did you segment your list by best opportunities to least opportunities? Like how did you design your routes for your 5 places that you'd go, 5 to 6 places a day?
I tried to put the furthest distance that I needed to go on the top of the list. They were really close to the office, so I wanted to basically finalize my appointment there, and then I could head back to the office to do any follow-up or paperwork.
Got it.
So strategically.
So these are cold calls, stop bys, like just you're out there in the field going to see them face to face.
Yeah, utilizing strategic account management. So
nice. Okay. So then you said you had a contact listed and you kept going after this contact and couldn't reach them because they're on their way out.
Correct.
Okay. So then tell me about how you figured that out and ended up transitioning to the right person. What was the key? How did you connect that?
So I want to say it was an email bounce back that I received.
Okay.
And so I ended up calling the receptionist because I don't think they had somebody up front. It's one of those dial by name, and you had to have an appointment in order to dial by the name. So
yeah.
I just figured I'd bypass all of that, go straight to the receptionist and say, I'm trying to reach so-and-so. I guess this other person doesn't work here anymore. Do you know who filled their role? And they said, no, it still hasn't been filled. And that's why there was that gap of 1 to 2 months. And then I just kept calling because I said, I've got to get in touch with somebody. And they said, yes, that role has been filled. Here, let me get you in touch with them.
Okay.
And I left a card behind saying, here, I'm going to call you the next day. Let's schedule the first appointment.
So how did that represent to you, in terms of like, was it 1 month budget, 1 quarter budget, a full year budget? How would you compare that?
I would say it would be about a month budget.
A month budget. Okay. So it was a 1 month budget. Great. And that sounds like a great deal, to get off the bat like that. So then once you finally connected with this customer, and you just got them on the phone, or did they answer an email, or how did that happen? You finally connect with the right person.
So after dropping off the strategic card, I went to the phones the next day, said, hey, did you get the card that I left yesterday? And they said,
Sure.
No, I didn't. It's like, okay, no problem. It said, the reason I wanted to meet is to discover ways that I can help you reduce your downtime, reduce your energy usage. I'd love to be able to tell you about the offerings that we have. What time works for you. Gave him a couple times, and then he ended up accepting the one of those times.
Oh, nice.
But it was via phone call in order to book the appointment.
Got it. So he accepted a time to have a phone call.
No, sorry, it was an in-person meeting.
Okay, got it. So
I booked it over the phone,
and
then I had the in-person meeting.
Perfect. So tell me about that meeting. What was that meeting like?
So I was slightly nervous because I didn't know everything that I should have known going in, but I just anticipated listening to what he had to say. There was no agenda on my part as far as pushing particular product or service. It was really just, what are your goals? What are your objectives? Does this happen this quarter? Is it going to happen toward the end of the year? What are you trying to do? And that way I may be able to tell you kind of which direction we could go.
Sure. And then in that meeting, what was the opportunity that you ended up finding from that customer?
So it turned out he had some really dim lighting in his warehouse, and also not the greatest of lighting in his manufacturing production area. And he said, I want to focus on the warehouse because it's the production area is okay. We're fine there, but the warehouse was what he wanted to start with. And he knew that he didn't want to do all the labor himself. He wanted to hire somebody else. He wanted to get it up to snuff as far as codes and regulations, and so that way forklifts can move around adequately and in a safe manner. Okay.
So then, how did you close for next step? And I guess what was the next step in this situation that you closed for?
So the next step was to do a plant walk. I needed to bring along an energy group specialist, that dealt with lighting specifically,
Okay.
and coordinating the next step with 3 different entities, the customer, myself, and the specialist. Basically, I think that took maybe 2 to 3 weeks, just due to and everything else that would entail, just to
So,
get the next step, which is the plant walk.
oh, so it took 2 to 3 weeks to get that to happen because you had to coordinate people coming in with, got it.
Exactly.
Now, is that something that other people do by themselves, or do you always have to bring one of those energy specialists with you?
Not always. In this particular instance, because I was so new,
Yeah.
I didn't know specifically what I could offer.
Yeah.
I didn't know all the different vendors that we could utilize to bid it out. And since if they can visually see what's in the warehouse, then they could say, oh, I have 4 different ones. We'll give you the good, better, best scenario,
Yeah.
and see which one you decide.
Okay. Nice. It's good too to let other people know that are listening that sometimes you don't know all this, and you do have people you can reach out to that they're the experts to come with you on these calls. For you, did you have any sort of meeting with your energy specialist to let him know what was going on, just to have a pre walk game plan strategy, and so he wasn't, or they weren't messing things up before you went, or was it just you just went?
Yeah, that's funny, because as an account manager, you're sort of the quarterback. So you kind of call the plays, call the shots, tell everybody what's going on. This is how we're going to do it. And catering to that question, it's okay. I had the meeting, and as soon as I ended the meeting, I jumped in the car, and as I'm driving to the next one, I'm dialing, right? I'm like, hey, I got this exciting opportunity.
Yeah.
Here's the next time that he said he's available to meet. And of course they say, oh, well, I'm booked through, the next 2 weeks, but book it for the 3rd week. And that's how it was kind of able to come about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, getting on their calendar is important. And I like how right away you picked up the phone and called them on your cell. It seems like it's a strange thing, but a lot of people wait until they get back to the office to make that next dial, to set that up. And I think that's a good, what you did right there was solid, that as soon as you find it, you're right back on your own, and you get in your car. That's what it is. You call people up and you schedule that right away. You don't want to be the person slowing down the sales cycle. So, so after that walk, did you, I guess the next thing's the proposal, right? Was that the next step for you, or is there something else out after that plant walk?
After we identified the area that they wanted to focus on, the next step was to gather all of the quotes, because they wanted to bid it out. And because we deal with multiple vendors, we wanted to be the one-stop shop and say, okay, here's ABC. Which one do you prefer? Give them all the pricing up front, and then they can decide. So that was the next step, is gather all the information from the vendor to then compile that into what we would then turn around to show them the proposal.
Got it. So you got that done. And just so I understand that your company, so your energy specialist had different options basically that you guys could provide them, and you wanted to give them in the proposal, those options of the different solutions that the energy specialist recommended. Is that what you meant?
Correct.
Got it. Okay. And when they wanted to spec it out or bid it out, you mean just they wanted to see what their options were, good, better, best from that standpoint?
Correct. Since there was going to be labor involved, we wanted to get in touch with different contractors, so that way they can say, all right, this is the quantity of fixtures that are going in. Basically bid your best price point to get all of these installed for however many days you think it's going to take, and compile that all, wrap it around and give it to the customer.
Wow. Seems like a lot of work. How many different vendors would you go through in a typical scenario like this?
On this particular case, we could have used about 5, but we contacted 3 because of the application, because of the quantity of fixtures, and because of the light output and the energy reduction that they were going to receive. That's why we stuck with just 3.
Okay. And getting the turnaround from adding those third parties in and getting that information back from them, like, is that something that's quick or does it take a while?
Sometimes it takes a while. This particular case, I want to say all 3 were back in our hands a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. It's one of those things you look at and you go, man, I gotta rely on other people to get back to me so I can sell something. That's gotta be frustrating, but at least I'm sure these people know they want to get it fast too, so they can increase their clock speed. Okay, good. So tell me about the proposal. How did that go? What did it look like? What did it cover? How'd you build value in it?
So proposal was pretty straightforward. It was a certain quantity of fixtures. There was an incentive. So we knew that there was a timeline on installing the fixtures, and they said, this is great. We want to go with option B. We think that based on the light output and how much brighter it's going to be, it'll be a lot safer to operate in the warehouse area, and it'll look a lot cleaner than the older technology that they were utilizing. And from there, it didn't take long for them to jump on that, because they knew that there was the timeline, and it was nothing that we could control. It was basically the utility that controlled the incentive and rebate.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, we're not messing around here. It's if you don't do this, then you will absolutely lose it. And unfortunately, they took a little bit of time, the second phase, but the first phase they were able to get in and were able to receive that rebate along with the energy reduction. So
that's nice that you have those other external factors that you can use to help you create urgency, like the rebates.
Right.
It's outside of your control, but a lot of people don't even use those. I mean, they might have factors like that are involved that they just let the customer make a decision, but you knew to bring that up and say, listen, this is what's going on. You got these rebates from utility company that as long as you do this, this is the result. You get this extra bonus.
Yeah. And it's easier to move the deal forward.
Sure.
When you have the time crunch, it forces their hand to make the decision. And if they don't move forward with it, then they know that it's their loss without capitalizing on those, because then they can use it for other projects in the plant.
Right. Yeah. Why wouldn't you take the deal? Why don't you get it done? And so, great. So it's good that you already had that natural built-in urgency created. So was competition involved at all for you?
There was actually a second distributor just down the street from them. And apparently they had been using them for years, but we popped out of the blue, like as a startup, basically.
Yeah.
And they thought, how come we never heard of you? And I said, well, I just started recently, been trying to get a hold of you, but apparently your contact wasn't there. He left. And they said, oh, okay. So I'm sure that they entertained at least 1 or 2 other bids, one from the person or the distributor that was right down the street. They didn't tell me exactly what they were proposing as far as the brand or the vendor, but I just feel like I built value in that first appointment because of other services and offerings we could provide down the road, listening to their objectives and their challenges. It could be that they went with us because the other just said, oh, you want lighting? And then they were pushing product and services.
Yeah.
So
well, that's good. You wanted to see the big picture about how you could really help them, and that this was just maybe step one that you'd recommend along the path to getting where they're trying to go.
Right.
So great. Fantastic. So looking back, what would you say the 3 things were that won the deal for you?
I would say the persistence of getting the appointment, following through on what you say you were going to do, and then time. You've got to keep the deal moving forward and utilize any external factors that you can, or internal factors if that's the capability. I would say that those are the critical things that helped win.
Yeah, I'd look at that too. When you said just in the beginning, just the story of you trying to get a hold of the contact, I mean, there's a lot of B2B salespeople that are listening, that will be listening to this, and they'll be thinking, man, there's all these customers that they keep reaching out to over and over again, and they don't hear from them, or prospects that are just ignoring them or just not taking their call.
Yeah.
And what they might not realize is that, just like you just said, they got to be persistent, maybe try different ways of breaking in, maybe your contacts changed, who knows? But that deal, once you found it start to finish, I mean, it just was a process that you put them in and they come out the end. So I love the fact that you said that persistence, because so often we don't hear from a customer or a prospect and we just think, okay, let me just move on. But you kept them on your radar. It's on your route. So same question. Looking back though, what are 3 things that you would have done differently?
That's a great question. If I could do things differently, I might have tried to reach out to a different contact within the company just to see if that was something that that it was on their radar, maybe in HR, a VP, as opposed to the maintenance manager, just being like, well, that only falls under the maintenance manager. Well, that may not be the case. There could be other people involved. Identifying other decision makers that are part of the process, that'd be another one. And I think that's why it took a little longer, because then they take your proposal and then they try to sell it to the higher ups. And sometimes they lose some things in translation where you're like, nope, I didn't mean to say that. I would say, I don't even know if there's a third. I think those are really the 2 key things to understand, is having all the decision makers and, continuing being persistent, finding another contact.
Nice. Now with this account, was this, did you end up going back and getting more business from them too? Spanish?
Yes. So again, it was 2 phases for this project. And then they were looking at replacing a lot of other electrical components inside. And so we got subsequent orders for that because they said, oh, we'll do that in phases as well. They've got to try to limit their capital expenditure. And so he's working within his maintenance budget to be able to squeak in some things here and there. So I saw some trickle. That's good.
Any idea why they keep going with you over the neighbor down the street that does something similar?
I brought in a vendor for something completely different. And the vendor had asked them specifically, it's like, so how well do you know Jason? And he said, Jason's my guy. And I think that it's because no matter what, I'm always going to try to get him in contact with someone, even if it doesn't result in a sale for me, because the more I can get him resources to be able to achieve his objectives, he's going to think of me the first time, every time, because it's not just about selling. It's about helping him overcome those challenges and those objectives.
I love it. Jason's my guy. So any final words of wisdom or things to share with the audience to help them bring more value to their deals?
B2B is tough, but it's also a mindset. And as long as you have a positive mindset, every chance that you get, keep repeating to yourself that you're going to win the deal. You're going to win the deal. The more no's that you get, it's leading you closer to a yes. And the persistence of knocking on the door, if you know it's a big opportunity, you feel it in your gut, there's always going to be somebody somewhere that's going to need what you have to offer. You just got to position yourself with your hard work, your intentionality with research, and spreading yourself out to different points of contact within the company, because you're never going to know who that person knows. They may be best friends with the executive and you've been trying to get an appointment with them for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Sometimes these deals take up to a year to even develop. And then from there, the sales cycle's another year. You just got to understand that it's a long play, that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you do sprint, you're going to get tired real fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been great, Jason. I mean, if people wanted to reach out to you further, to ask you more questions or even advice, what would be the best way to do it?
Best way is going to be via LinkedIn, Madsen Jason R. I'd love to help others. Again, if it doesn't result in a sale for me, that's fine. I'm happy to explain my experiences. and everybody's going through something similar. So it's always good to have somebody else's ears kind of listening to what's going on.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Jason, for being on today.
Oh, absolutely. I had a great time.
Well, hey, everyone, that's it for today's session. Thank you so much, Jason, for helping all of our fellow B2B salespeople out there improve their sales skills. For our listeners, if you'd like to check out today's highlights, be sure to check out our summary on salesin21days.com. Have a great sales week, everybody, and I'll see you next time. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, then you have to come check out our free Top Performer Academy course. Inside it, I'll give you 12 sales tips that only the best salespeople do on a daily basis. Tips ranging from cold calling to running effective appointments, handling objections, and creating urgency in your deals. You can get it 100% free at www.modernSalesTraining.com/free. That's modernSalesTraining.com/free. These 12 tips could be the difference between you having a good month or an incredible one. I hope to see you there.